Hi, this is Dr. Tom Durrell at SurePoint Medical Center, ER here on the island. We're covering a few topics that we run into in the coastal bend, particularly people that don't live here get nervous about all the publicity for the bad bacteria that are in the water, and of course they hear all kinds of horror stories about those bacteria, and they get nervous and are scared to even get in the water many times. Essentially, the flesh-eating type bacteria that we see in warm saltwater environments are what we call Vibrio species of bacteria, Vibrio vulnificus being one of the more common ones, although there are other species that can affect us. Typically these things are only found in warm saltwater environments, so obviously our environment meets those criteria, and you'll see this up and down the coast. Now the one good thing to know is that these bacteria, even though they live here, and you can find them on jetty rocks, oyster shells, stingrays, sharks, fish fins, etc., any of these things can actually cause you to get infected with these bacteria. The good news is that the people that are most severely affected usually are immunocompromised in some way. People that have poorly controlled diabetes, they're on chemotherapy, alcoholism, all of these types of things where our immune system is just not functioning well. Those bacteria tend to be much more severe and more deadly in that area than they are with a normal healthy host. What I would tell you is that we always protect people against that infection here on the coast when we get a wound such as a stingray, catfish barb, open wounds from being in the barnacles, oil platforms, any of the typical kinds of things that we see down here as far as wounds that get contaminated. We usually like to use an antibiotic called doxycycline, which does the best at covering these types of bacteria. Typically that antibiotic will also give you some coverage against methicillin-resistant staph, which is probably the most common community-acquired organism that we see in the coastal bend. And so it tends to be a good choice of antibiotic when we're trying to treat these infections. Realize that not all antibiotics are created the same. And if you are taking an antibiotic that has not been prescribed by a physician specifically for your infection, chances are it may not work at all for that infection. So that's something to keep in mind. So be careful out there, and if you get a wound, come see us. We'll be glad to help you. Thanks.